Hey, algebra students, let's take a look at this example that looks really challenging, but is actually a lot easier than you would think if you have your calculator. See how I have my calculator? If you don't have yours, go pause this video, go grab your GED calculator. That's the TI-30XS Multiview, because it is going to save you on this problem here. Well, let's take a look. It says a certain sphere has a volume of 1,564 cubic inches. And don't panic because you don't know what sphere or volume is. Just hold on. Solve the equation, all this jazz, to determine the radius to the nearest 1/10 of an inch of the sphere. You don't really have to understand radius or sphere or cubic inches or volume or any of it. What you need to understand here is solving equations like we've been doing. So let's first start by just copying down our equation. 1564 equals 4/3 times 3.14 times r cubed. All right. And it says solve it to determine the radius. Makes sense considering the letter in there is R. Okay. R for radius. And so if I want to solve it for radius, my goal then is to get that R alone all by itself. Put a nice little line through the equal sign with me so you can see when it's alone. Okay. Now, you can see that I have a couple of numbers to get rid of here. I've got that 4/3 shoved up against the parentheses, which is shoved up against r cubed. So that and the 3.14 are multipliers. All these three things, they're all multiplying because they're all shoved together. Okay. Now there's one more thing I need to get rid of, that exponent, that cube. Do remember though, when I'm solving equations, I'm working to get rid of math. I use the order of operations backwards. So I'm going to get rid of any multiplication before I get rid of exponents. Okay. So I've got this 4/3 and this 3.14 to get rid of. And you might say, well, which one should I take first? And it really doesn't matter. You know, some people will multiply them together first. Some people will divide them away one at a time. It really doesn't matter, okay? But I'm just going to go left to right. I'll take away the one that's freaking you out the most first, okay? I'm just going to divide away the 4/3, right? The opposite of multiplying is dividing, and I can do whatever I want as long as I do it to both sides. If you know another way to do it, that's fine. That's great, okay? But this will always work, this using opposites, and I'm going to do it in my calculator. So I'm going to do 1, 5, 6, 4, and then I'm going to divide it by, I'm going to use the n over d for that fraction, 4 arrow down to 3. If your fraction bar doesn't look nice and horizontal like that, yours is diagonal, it means you're in the wrong mode. Switch to math print mode. So I press enter and I get 1173, and that's going to be equal to what? Well, 4/3 and 4/3 cancel. So it's going to be equal to 3.14 r cubed. And you might say, why'd I drop the parentheses? Because I know those two things are multiplying. You can leave them, you can drop them. I don't really care. It'll be the same, okay? But I still have one more multiplier to get rid of, right? That's what that 3.14 is doing. It's multiplying. So if I want to get rid of it, I want to move it to the other side of that equal sign. In order for r to be alone, I have to use opposites. So I'm going to divide both sides by 3.14. And here's where we really want our calculator. It's about to get messy because when you divide by 3.14, nasty number. So I'm not going to write this whole thing down on my paper. You know, I'll just write 3.7356, yada, yada, yada on my paper. But I'm going to leave it in the calculator. Okay. You leave it in the calculator too. Don't delete it. Don't clear it. Okay, now take a look at the right-hand side, multiplying by 3.14 and dividing by 3.14 cancel, so I have r cubed. So I'm almost done. Don't make the foolish mistake, though, of stopping here. I still do have to get rid of the cube. Okay, so what's the opposite of cube, you guys? It's cubed root. Cubed root. The opposite of an exponent is its root. And I will do the same thing to the left-hand side. I will take the cube root. And this is why I wanted you to leave your entire number in the calculator. We're going to do a very nice trick to take the cube root. Okay, so first of all, when you want to do cube root, you have to type what's known as the index. That's the number in the check first. So I will do that. I will type the 3. And then cube root on your calculator is in green here, right in the middle left. It's the xth root. Anytime you want a root that's higher than a square root, it doesn't matter. Cubed root, fourth root, fifth root, any other root besides square root, you're going to use this button. Notice it is in green, so I need to hit second. To get any green thing, you need second. And then I can hit that little caret. And you can see that 3 went up into the sky. So I am taking the cube root. Now, I want the cube root of this entire number. So look what you can do. Arrow up. I'm flashing black on the number. Press enter to select it. It typed that long, nasty thing for you. Enter one more time, and we can see that we get this ugly 7.202, yada, yada, yada. But it did say we could round to the nearest 10th, which happens a lot in geometry word problems. You're allowed to round, okay? So 10th is 1 decimal place. So I'm chopping it off after 1 decimal place. Take a look at what you're losing, okay? Is the first number 5 or higher? No, so it's not big enough to matter. So we'll just call that 7.2 inches. Woohoo! Not hard. With a calculator and with that understanding that you can get rid of any math you want to on an equation as long as you keep your balance. You do the same thing to both sides. All right. If you have questions about this, be sure to post them to our Facebook group. Otherwise, happy learning.